In this lesson, we're going to take a look at a couple different operations we can use to quickly clean up our code or refactor our code in a way that makes it more appropriate to our standards or preferences. So what I've done is arranged these variables at the top of our program class in a non-alphabetical way, and I'm actually going to cut them. So let's go ahead and cut these variables and place them at the bottom. Now this will still compile and run, but it may be the case that our organization or our personal standards would prefer that these variable declarations were actually at the top of our class. So therefore what we can do is quickly run a function called sort members. So when I go to my source menu, I can select sort members. Now by default, this will be selected to do not sort fields, enum constants, and initializers. Now this is of course important because if we change some of the orders around of these things, we might actually break our code. And in fact, when we select to sort all members, it will tell us, hey, be careful here, you might be causing a problem. We can also check to not show this message again, but that's probably a bad idea, especially if we want to toggle between these two often. So let's go ahead and leave that unchecked and select OK. It will tell us, hey, there's really something here you should be careful about. You're going to be modifying something that could really break the program. So make sure you want to do this. Let's go ahead and do it. And what we'll see is that now it has sorted my data members, bringing my variables to the top of my class and organizing them in alphabetical order. So had they needed to be reliant on one another, that could be a really big problem. Or had they needed to be declared later for some reason, that could also be a big problem. But there we can see how we can quickly and easily sort members within a file. The next thing I want to show is how we can clean up some code. So if we go to Encryptor, and remember when we brought in the equals method, we used the generator to generate the equals method. And when we did that, it brought in this code, which is great. We didn't have to write it. But you'll note that there's no code blocks around it. Of course, most organizations would prefer that you do have the code blocks for conditional statements like if, or loops like while, or try-catch blocks containing your brackets as necessary in case more code is added later. So let's run a cleanup operation to make this file comply to our standards. So what we can do is select anywhere in this file, encryptor.java, and go to Source Cleanup. Now when we do this, we can use a configured profile that's the default built in to Eclipse, or we can just configure that one and run different things that we want to do within our cleanup operations. Or we can use a custom profile. Now we'll note when we select the custom profile, there are some things that are already selected for us, and we can allow those to happen or we can uncheck them. If we want to just do what's here, we could go ahead and run this. If we selected next, it'll tell us there's nothing that's going to be changed. So what we want to do is make sure that we change our code blocks. So here are some other options. Before we get to that, you can see that you could add in formatting, removing white spaces, correcting indentation, organizing your imports, sorting your members again. Here with the toggle, you can change between the two. But what we want to do really is we want to add those code blocks. So that's under code style. And here we can just simply check use blocks in if, while, for, do statements. And we could have always except for single return or throw statement, always, only if necessary. And we're going to use always. We can change all for loops to enhanced for loops if we decide to. You can add in using parentheses and expressions. Lots of different nice things you can do to clean up your code. You can change some access. You can change adding missing annotations. That was in the default configuration. Adding that serial version ID. Adding any unimplemented methods. And removing unnecessary code. So you can toggle that and play with these different cleanup operations and use them as necessary. So let's go ahead and OK that, and now let's select Next, and we'll see that encryptor.java will be modified. Here we're going to add in the code blocks. You can see the highlighted changes here on the right. So let's go ahead and finish that. And there we see our cleanup operation has completed, and now any missing if block brackets have been added in as necessary. So it's a real nice, easy way to quickly run a cleanup to refactor our code to match some of our standards. And so that wraps up our look at sorting members and cleaning up our code.